Excuse me, mate.
Up.
What Lego are you crafting?
Oh, nothing yet.
Why not? I've made mine. Have I fucked up? Why don't you
Calm
say something?
down.
You calling me an arsehole?
Hola, ladies and gentlemen, and it has caused quite a stir today, as of course we are in the second week, but the second week means that next week, Mythic Plus and Raiding begins. Normal mode and Heroic mode and all those Mythic Pluses will be available from next week as the game fully opens up after a 2-week period, allowing people who have working lives, couldn't book time off for the Shadowlands launch, are able to get into the thrust of things. And this week was the week where you could start crafting legendaries. So, of course, many people came to Twitch across a variety of streamers, not just myself, but to ask the question, what have you crafted? What is BIS? Is what I'm reading online on lists and things, are they best in slot? And unfortunately, most of them were met with the answer, we're not crafting them. And we're not going to be crafting them till Mythic Week. At least in my case, it is not until Mythic Raiding Week that we're going to bother crafting them. And this got people pretty upset. I spoke to a lot of streamers today and they're like, oh my god, people are pretty pissed about the legendary situation and it's not that big of a deal. So if you have crafted your legendary, the message, of course, is it's not that big of a deal. Don't worry about it. You're 99% assured to be fine. And why aren't we doing it? Why are the mega nerds not doing it? Which is obviously where a lot of attention went during the subject. Pessimism is the big one. Pessimism is the main thing. Just don't trust Blizzard not to fuck with them. If I'm being honest with you, we just don't have that faith. And there is good cause for that concern. That's not just spuriously me just throwing that out there as like, well, Blizzard's going to change it. It's not like there's some good reason that they might change it. Firstly, there's nothing in the game. Let's start off with the checklist here as to why patience is a virtue in this scenario. But again, why you should be fine. And this should hopefully reassure those of you who have made your legendaries that you're gonna be fine. They're not that expensive to make. First and foremost, there's nothing that dangerous in the game right now that requires good, like the pinnacle of gear available. There just isn't. The whole purpose of gearing right now is to prepare to have an easier first couple of hours more than anything else in Mythic Plus, and of course your normal and heroic raids. That's the purpose of this first 2 weeks of doing Mythic Zero sweeps. It's to get reputation, get practice with your new spells and Covenant abilities, and gear up so that you have a slightly easier time in Mythic Plus and normal and heroic. But what you're going to find is extraordinarily quickly, if you're jumping into raiding and you're jumping into Mythic Plus next reset, all the gear you've collected over the last 2 weeks is just going to disappear into the ether. But it helps you get it that little bit quicker, makes you a bit sturdier, a bit more health, all those kinds of things. So the gear that we're getting right now is garbage compared to what will be in the game in literally 6 days' time. So that's what we're thinking of. It's like, why do I need a legendary right now? Do I need a legendary for Mythic Zero? No, I don't. Would a legendary be nice, though, when those of us who are in the higher end scene are going to be trying to push 14s and 15s and further next week? Yes, it would be. So that would be a smart time to really start thinking about which legendary you want. Ideally, though, we're going to hold off until Mythic Week. And the big reason for that is the follow-up, which is Heroic Week. Normal and Heroic Week is when Blizzard gets most of their data as to what is really, really broken. I have no doubt they have huge amounts of data, and I'm showing you, I'm still farming my recipes. Of course I am, and that's what I'm doing in the background here. But normal and heroic week is when they get people fighting bosses that last longer than like a minute and a half, and they can actually see the long-term scaling of what's going on. Is it just that, say, MM is doing ridiculous AoE, but when it's a single target, it's not that strong, and maybe we just need to cut back on here? Because what Blizzard don't want to do is come in heavy-handed and say, my MM Hunter right now does too much AoE damage. Let's cut aim shot in half. Well, that screws single target damage, and they actually aren't that bad single target. So maybe we want to really rethink this, and we need that longer data to make those kinds of decisions. So they have beta testing and stuff, but as we know, Shadowlands was delayed because of all the problems, and they never get it right until they throw the whole player base into raiding, which means they're likely to start changing things. So that transfers directly into the legendaries because we don't know what spec we're going to play. Could be that, like, if I look at my Hunter, for example, that we're not going to be playing Marksman. They might kill Marksman. I don't know. You never know what Blizzard's going to do here. Which means if I craft, say, a Marksman Legendary, that kind of means, fuck, man, I actually need Beast Mastery Legendaries. That's where I'm going to be. Or Survival Legendaries or something like that. So I will wait until Mythic Week, ideally, so that Blizzard has this data and then they make their changes going into Mythic Week and then we can finally set it in stone. Not only that, guilds, I imagine most of your guilds are doing this, are organizing a singular crafter for each type of armor piece in order to reduce the cost of acquiring these base armor pieces. They're very, very expensive that they're going for right now. So, I want to be careful. Another reason number 3. Some of the legendaries have weird interactions that may or may not be bugs, and that's making them overvalued. Now, I say may or may not. We don't know. That's the thing. We don't know. It seems to be the common message of the Shadowlands. We don't know. I still don't know what spec I'm going to play in the raid. I have no idea. And the reason for that is there are things that are happening. Like some of the legendaries interact really interestingly with certain Covenant abilities. And that makes them stronger because they're doing something that they may not do. And they don't do for other Covenants, right? So you look at the Serpent Sting legendary from Marksman. It's doing some proc stuff with Wild Spirits that if you're a Night Fae Hunter, it does a lot more damage than, say, if you're doing Vandir. So that means it's overvalued. Now, if Blizzard decide that's a bug, and they don't want it to do that because it's unfair, then they remove that functionality, and suddenly that legendary is worth less, and I've now got a dead legendary as far as I'm concerned, as somebody who's concerned about performance. Now, of course, if you're crafting a legendary based on what's fun, who cares anyway? Right? You're not that bothered. But for me, if I want to make the one that I'm going to use for progress raiding, ideally I want to be in the scenario where I'm very, very confident that is the one I'm going to take. And are we going to hit a wall in Mythic Raiding which might be like hugely AoE based? In which case I probably want to focus into an AoE legendary. Is it a single target? Like, do we end up with, say, the Hungering Devourer, single target fight, needs massive amounts of damage? Then fuck the AoE one. All the single target. Is it one that does both? Generally just really well in both scenarios. We don't know. So all these situations are things that make us go, wait. But are any of these things likely to happen? Not really. No. But as the counter to that is that it might happen. And do I need it right now? And the other guilds are saying the same thing. Do I need a legendary right now? For Mythic Zeros and stuff, absolutely not. No, I do not need a legendary. I'm sure if you're in the Pug world, having the bonus item level is kind of a bigger deal than it is for somebody who can get groups within the guild. So I totally understand that. And I'm not really, honestly, I'm not encouraging you not to make your legendary. I think you should go for it because it's probably going to stay the same. There's a very high chance it's going to stay the same. From our perspective, it might not, and we don't need it. And that's the end of the situation. That's the message I've put out hundreds and hundreds of times today, as have many other influencers who people are asking just to double check and to make sure. What are you rolling with? Because once you craft your legendary, you kind of feel committed to that spec, right? If you make your Arms Warrior legendary, your Fire Mage legendary, whatever it might be, you're kind of committing to that spec. So a lot of people feel like it's a bigger decision. And then when they hear from the guys who would usually give them advice, like, well, I'm not even making one right now, they feel a little pissed off that maybe they've made the wrong decision because it all made sense. They checked their lists online of what's the best one. That's the best one. I farmed that recipe. I'm going for it. I'm making it. Cool. I'm going to go and tell Mike, or I'm going to go and ask the other hunters in the Discords or whatever, that have they made theirs yet? Did you get a recipe? And then those guys are going, I'm not making mine. And you're like, why wouldn't you make your legendary? Like, why wouldn't you do that? And it's for the reasons I just explained there. There are a whole bunch of good reasons not to do it. Not many good reasons to do it, depending on how you play. Again, mileage varies massively here. A lot of people in my guild who are the more casual side, who are going to be doing split runs and stuff with us, they've made theirs. They're totally fine with it. They've made the one they're happy with because that opens up their ability to trade items and also to make them a bit more powerful to helping to support the raid group. That's what they do. So there's all sorts of different ways to go here. What I wanted to make sure is, one, here's the reasons that we're not doing it. Are you screwed? Absolutely not. You can relax. It's all good. Even if I'm sure you're getting the same message from a lot of different people is, don't worry about it. It's just a decision we've made because it makes more sense to us just to wait because it's not a necessary thing right now. And there are definitely some things that may change. And that's the simple case of it. All right, guys. So I hope your experience is wonderful. Final reset. We are going to be looking this week at what is the what is the things you need to be getting done? We're now up to Renown level 6, which is really nice. And we're now looking to start really fine-tuning things, because once Normal and Heroic Week starts, that's when the real gear rush happens. So I'm going to be doing some extra things this week. Like tomorrow, I'm going to be doing Glory of the Dungeon Hero in the Shadowlands. That's going to be super fun. I'm getting all this stuff out of the way so that once the raiding begins, as you guys well know me, the raiding has begun. All right, so I will keep up to date with you throughout the week. Thank you very much for listening, guys. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.